Okay, we're back. Their old principal. I don't mean old as an age. I just mean used to be.
Thanks, Ryan, for clarifying
our
that. Yeah, that's right.
They just try to keep up on. I don't know if have you done many interviews in your?
Oh, too many.
Too many.
Not with former students, though.
No.
Not with former students.
No.
So
How
you
we
were
got a hold of you. This is when we first started this. We were really hoping we could get you on.
get you out.
Yeah.
You were our principal in elementary and high school.
Yeah.
So you've,
I had that fortune.
I was going to say you've had the pleasure of watching us develop into
Betty
men.
Gilbert Elementary and then Aldergrove Secondary. I watched you walk across the stage.
What were your thoughts on us as young students?
Let's try to keep that a little closer.
You know, it was my days at Betty Gilbert and Aldergrove Secondary were very memorable. I had a close affinity to a lot of students in the area and in the community through my involvement in sports and in other activities. And when I had an opportunity to be involved in their educational programs, it was really a bonus. I started working at Aldergrove in 1973, and I moved in and out a number of times in my educational career, and so having the opportunity to open Betty Gilbert in 1991 and watch a lot of the young people like yourselves go through kindergarten right up to grade 7 and then have the opportunity to come back 4 years later at Aldergrove Secondary was a real pleasure on my part.
For sure.
I've got a lot of people speak down about Aldergrove and the kids from Aldergrove, but I tell you, I can defend them.
We were talking about that earlier. It's there's been times and places where there's obviously a bad crowd, but I love it here. I really do. I love Aldergrove. I love being out here, and there's a ton of good people out here, and it's.
Well, it's the neatest part about being a principal, and people don't understand this. I say this quite often, though, at this point in my life is now. Seeing those students in about this community and other communities in their jobs, in their recreational pursuits, where it's a ball field, soccer field, hockey rink, whatever the case may be. And I think the attachment to the community and the attachment to the friendships and bonds that were created live pretty strong.
Definitely.
And one of the reasons that I ran for council when I did was I wanted to see some things happen in Aldergrove that were constructive and managed to, I think, meet some needs that were lacking at that point in time. And, I can honestly say the biggest obvious deficiency in those times was the recreation center, and I think we've got that pretty much tied up. So I know there's still some controversy, but I think that's one of the biggest.
Did you have a hand in what was your role in the going forward with that?
Well, that's a good question, and it just doesn't happen just because it happens. It's interesting, and people don't understand. You just can't go and build something and it just gets paid for. It's like operating a home budget. You got to have money. If you don't have money, then you got to go borrow money. If you borrow money, then you got to pay interest. It's exactly the same context. So one of the things that had to happen first was we had to redevelop the core plan in Aldergrove, which we did in 2010, and through a community engagement process, community committee, which Bob Long and I sat on, and we kind of defined, what the basic needs were and where we thought it should be located. And that's when when council passed the motion to accept the core plan, they also passed the motion to buy Aldergrove Elementary site and put the new facility downtown to really to try and make a positive impact downtown.
Right. Yes.
And make a more vibrant. One of the biggest issues is the downtown of Aldergrove's dead.
Yeah.
And there's a number of reasons for it. But if the township could invest some money and get a focal point downtown, it may help businesses to start thinking more about putting money back into their business, the facades, maybe doing some constructive things with that. So, and also it's the center. It's walkable. It's
Yeah.
walkable for
Yeah.
kids and families from Parkside. It's walkable for kids and families from Short Reed, Betty Gilbert, whatever the case may be.
We were talking about it earlier, and it's that
whole
I
area.
feel there's so much potential with this downtown of Aldergrove.
Do you know if
And
there's
that
ever?
recreation center is going to be a huge catalyst at
I
getting
think
a
so.
ball rolling.
Yeah.
Do you think the mall area will ever see a redevelopment?
Well, the mall area is an interesting one. The mall is actually owned by the same people that own the Safeway Mall.
Oh, okay.
It's a family out of Richmond, and there's a couple of issues with the mall. One is the I think it's the no frills. What's
Extra Foods.
Extra Foods,
Yeah.
which is owned by Loblaws, has a long-term lease.
Oh,
And a
okay.
very, very favorable lease for themselves. It's very favorable. So, which means it's low floor space rental for them. So they, you know, they've kind of got their kind of hooks into this whole thing. I've seen plans for rejuvenating the mall. I've talked personally to the family, met with them. Bob Long, I met with them a couple of times and tried to encourage them. At the township level, we've offered to, if they come forward with some specific plans that they want to present to council, and we've offered to give them some incentives to try and work so that they don't, you know, we can encourage them in whatever way we can from a township perspective, moving building permits through quicker, moving this sort of thing, looking at how we cost DCCs, how we cost some of the other costs that are involved, and trying to encourage them to move forward with the project. They've got a lot of land to work with. They've got space. They've got opportunity. They've got zoning. So they could move ahead if they chose to. It's just that they don't seem to have the desire to do that at this point in time.
And then has there ever been any real estate sale opportunities or anybody inquiring into that, or is it something that they are in a beneficial position so they just care to hang on to it?
I think they're in a beneficial position to just carry it forward. I think if somebody came along and made them a good financial offer, they might look at it. Absolutely. They tend to be more in the mall management more than the mall development area.
Right.
And they're two different things. Managing a mall and tenants, vacancies filling, and those sorts of things is a very different thing.
What's even in there now? Just extra foods, the dollar store.
The dollar store, and then the doctor's
The
dentist up above.
upstairs,
That's it.
Yeah,
All the other stores in there are closed.
yeah.
That's incredible.
But how long has it been there? That building's probably paid off. Like, I would assume that's just
Oh,
rental money.
we used to go for ice
coming
cream in there, play some Keno.
Yeah,
you know, the Lotto
there was a
Center.
lot of there's a lot of,
It's-
you know, you had sources, you had a number of there was some dress stores, real estate offices, and so there was a Chinese restaurant there that did very well. But I mean, in the redevelopment phase, Aldergrove could not handle at this point a fully engaged mall.
Right.
But if you did a staged mall development process, and, you know, I think that what is probably more the challenge for them is if they were to build a retail area for the Extra Foods to move to and offer them the same, you know, they have to offer them the same per floor space costs.
Yeah.
It might be just too much at this point in time. And as the primary tenant with a 20-year lease, 20-plus-year lease, it could present, I guess, a bit of a problem.
Sure.
There are other ways to develop it. I mean, you could partially develop it. You could leave that and leave that Extra Foods and leave the Dollarama and demolish what's around them and rebuild and refacade what's there.
It's just such an eyesore.
Oh, it's such an eyesore. And then, of course, you got the bus stop there and everything else. And so it does attract. And because it's left in somewhat of a dilapidated state, it attracts graffiti and everything else that's...
It's just kind of a hangout, pass by. It's
It's ugly.
Dead space.
Bottom line, it's
You know,
It's ugly.
And
Yeah.
you're never going to have a decent looking downtown core of Aldergrove until that is renovated.
Yeah.
It's too big.
Yeah. And they actually have zoning for up to 16-floor apartment on the north corner there, and they've got zoning across the street already for residential, some forms of residential. So there's zoning in place. It's the initiative that's got to be taken at this point in time.
Well, with the recreation center going in, and then I had Dan Harder on my old podcast, and he works with you guys as a volunteer.
Yeah, recreation, culture parks.
And he mentioned that there was a plan possibly, or you guys were hoping to put condos in where the old rink is.
Well, that's the idea. Is we would not do that.
Yeah.
One of the things, if you go back, and one of the issues that we talked about, and I mentioned it, alluded to it, is how do we finance this? This is, in totality, is probably somewhere between $33 and $34 million. How do we do that without either going in debt or a tax increase? So we, council, made the decision that we will sell land. And one of the things that we did when we kind of laid the parameters and base for the recreation center is we want to bring all township recreation facilities into one building for staffing efficiency. But then we would sell the old rink site.
Yeah.
We would sell the old sewage lagoon site and use that money directly.
Is that behind Shortreed?
Yeah, the one down from Shortreed.
And that's not functioning right now. It's just kind of
there is a water plant there, water mixing. Take the water from the wells, and that's what feeds your water. But the old sewage lagoon is basically just waiting for 67 houses. And it's all zoned and ready to go, and the layout's there. And so I would expect that.
Is that still in Aldergrove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Property,
Until you pass that 276 portion, you're Aldergrove.
Yeah. And there's a big housing development just on the Abbotsford side, 130 houses on the Abbotsford side. So
that rec center is going to be affected by all, we were saying that earlier as well. Even though that's Abbotsford, people's livelihood is in Aldergrove, living in those areas, right?
Yep.
So,
well, I mean, we saw that in school, right? A lot of those West Abbotsford kids came to Aldergrove Secondary and went to Shortreed or Parkside, whatever the case may be. So a lot of those people frequent Aldergrove businesses and frequent the area. So we expect a lot of traffic coming from that West Abbotsford area. And we've talked to the Abbotsford Council. We met with them a couple times and mentioned about it. We've invited them to cost share, but of course they've got their own projects and they don't want cost share. So that's the way it is. But I think that I think it'll be a great selling feature for Aldergrove when we do some continue to see some development in the area in terms of residential. When you've got a facility like that, I think it draws people. I know people are and you two both played hockey in that arena. People have a great affinity for the arena, great love for the arena, great ice, all that stuff. And I mean, I know that from my days with hockey. But the thing is, it was built in early 1970s.
Yeah.
It's 43 years old.
Yeah.
And we've had significant professional analysis of the building done, and it has a lifespan of 7 to 10 years. And so people say, well, why don't you just leave it? And the reason is because if you leave it, you'll never get another chance at getting dollars.
Right.
The people of Aldergrove need to realize that we got one kick at a cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we either do it all,
Yeah.
or whatever's left out will never come back because of the configuration of the township with so many different little communities. I mean, Brookswood's crying for a rec center.
Yeah.
Willoughby, is crying for their fields to be finished at Willoughby, Yorkson Creek Park.
The housing has just gone up so fast
Yeah.
there without the amenities in that direct area. I think it just causes the traffic. 208, 72nd.
Yeah.
We live just by there, and when you get down 200th, that traffic between 200th and the bypass, the Mall Road and 64th, it is just overwhelming.
Yeah,
at times
it's
to
a
try
very
to
busy
get through.
place, very busy place. And And the people up there are saying we want our amenities too. Now they have a very, very nice field complex up there by Mountain. There's no question about it. But as the area grows, the need grows, and so the bottom line is if we left the arena as it is, in 7 to 10 years, you'd have to do probably a major anywhere between $7 and $10 million retrofit just to bring it up, get the floor redone, all those sorts of things redone. And yeah, it's probably good for another 30 years. But where do you get the $7 to $10 million from?
Is the rink going to stay until the new one's
Yep.
done?
Yeah.
Is that part of the agreement on this?
Well, the new rink is we've targeted May of 2018.
Okay.
And so the hockey season will be over. And that will give them 3-4 months before the ice goes in to work out some of the bugs, get some of that sort of stuff. And so in that third week of August when the ice goes in, it should be pretty clean.
Okay.
And of course, at that point in time, the pool and water park area will be going full gun. So,
So
That's
that's
gonna be-
going after. Then they're gonna complete the rink and then
no, whole thing's all done.
all at the same
All
time,
done.
kind of. So
It's-
what was it basically purely financial? The reason why they went from the indoor pool to the outdoor pool
Purely financial.
just was not in the budget.
Yeah, it's another. By the time you put a roof and enclose it, and you have to have the
Heating
and all of the other dehumidifiers and all that sort of stuff, plus meet fire code and everything else, it's another $8 million.
Wow.
Was the value that an indoor pool versus an outdoor pool would generate taken into
Absolutely.
consideration? It just still wasn't in the cards.
Still wasn't in the cards. I mean,
I like it. I like the outdoor pool.
well,
I
we're
don't mind an indoor because I mean,
yeah. In
realistically,
at the end of this month, council has a decision to make at the end of February here, because the question of whether we cover the pool comes up,
Right.
and it's an extra sum of money, but it's doable.
Yeah.
that allow-
I believe it's doable, and then what it would do is cover the rink, and the way the design is the distance from the change rooms to the pool itself is not a really substantial distance. The floor will be heated, the hot tubs will be in between, so you could either go into the hot tub and then into the pool. Not my cup of tea,
People are so
but
lazy.
go into the water and then come out, go into the hot tub and then go in and change, so you're warm. I mean,
It's a little bit of cold. It's good for you. It's revigorating.
well,
Well-
it wouldn't kill you. I mean, I think a
was-
lot of people would it
Yeah.
be? Is it planned to be open year round
Oh yeah.
as an outdoor?
'Cause they're
the
gonna
pool
use-
will be. The water park will not be.
They'll be using the
Yeah, you're
heat
using your.
exchangers from the rink to heat the pool.
So whether
Or vice versa, whatever.
like whether regardless, that pool will be
Yeah.
open if you want to go for a swim in the rain.
Be
go
open
nuts.
today.
I'm looking.
You know what?
forward
I
to
didn't.
it.
I didn't realize.
Well, at the
that there
roof,
was-
it wouldn't be in the rain.
If there's a
It would be raining
but
out there, but you would
once
not
get
be
in the
raining.
water,
Maybe we'll have to do
it's
some
not cold
fundraising for a
anymore.
roof for you guys.
And
That's
what I was in the sauna at the other pool because when I tore my ACL, and since then that's been my cardio, swimming.
Yeah.
It is so much nicer to swim at Al Anderson outside than either indoor. Well, the girl's not bad because it's got big windows and it actually lets in quite a bit of light. But as far as the feeling you get swimming in the sun,
The circulation
it's so
just-
much nicer swimming outside.
Yeah.
People can't get over this fact that it's a little bit of cold.
I didn't
don't know,
even-
we're such babies.
I thought I personally thought the issue was going to be that because it was an outdoor pool, it would only be open at certain times of the year
No.
or weather. But now that I like,
All
No,
year.
it's a 12-month pool. If it had a cover on it, it'd be the same as that patio right out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit cool today, but there's lots of times
It's
you
not
can
even
sit out
that
there.
cold. For how cold it really
And,
gets here.
If you're using the heat exchanger water, you bump it up a degree or two, and maybe, I don't know how that all works, but maybe you do that, and it's comfortable for people to pop into the pool. I think a lot of people are conjuring up perceptions.
Yeah.
Maybe they're valid, I don't know, but certainly not what the feed that we're getting on it is that, you know what? People will use it. They'll use it like you do for swimming laps or
Yeah.
for doing your cardio. The elderly people will still use it if there's a cover over top to do their aquafit because they're in the water. Yes, their head's out, but basically they're walking in the water and doing all those fitness activities. They get out, they go in the hot tub, and they go in, and it's a very it's in close
those
proximity.
Few seconds that people are worrying about where they're
Yeah.
walking to the pool or walking away. In 2 seconds you're in there, you're gonna have a shower anyway.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna jump in the hot tub. Like,
So
I don't know. We're a
It's-
bunch of babies.
anyway,
Really are.
it's
I'm okay with it.
I am too.
I think right now it's a controversy. I think when it's built and it's actually functioning and people realize what an asset it is, it's going to be a real.
I agree. I
draw.
completely
So is
agree.
that whole property then, the gravel, everything surrounding that area, going to be?
It will all be encompassed. The arena will be on the out to the street side, out to Fraser Highway side, and the pool and the water park will be more on the south side. And we want it that way, south facing, so that it gets as much sun as it can when the nice weather's there.
Also, probably a little less traffic kind of zipping by on Fraser Highway
Yeah.
all the time there, right?
Yeah.
Those businesses, even right there, are going to be so drastically affected
Yeah.
if there's a little.
Just traffic.
Oh, there's a little sushi store there.
Yeah.
Right now,
Especially with the
Domino's Pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Subway used to be down there. Is there?
Used to be. That's where the Domino's is.
I was gonna say like
Right.
that's those businesses probably. It's too bad.
Yeah.
It's some of the things that I had to move, but I'm
Well,
sure
maybe
other places. will
other
readjust
places are
now.
looking in there. I don't know. Is there still a hockey shop over here?
Yep.
Well, I mean,
I believe it's still there.
he'll probably move. I mean, obviously he
It's
wants.
changed hands quite a bit because I think making money there is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But I think he's now whoever's there now has built a base of skate sharpenings and enough to keep afloat. And,
So he'll probably be looking for something close by.
Yeah.
yeah.
Proximity is important. I mean, if you want your skate sharpened and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I think once it's all said and done, and I mean, it'll go through its teething problems, and people still have, affinity to the old arena. We know that. There's not too many people that are complaining the old pool's going down,
Mm-mm.
or all you young guys
What
learn
are,
to
what are
swim.
they gonna do there? Just fill that
Fill
with
it
park?
up.
Yeah.
Fill it up and just tear the change rooms down and fill up the rest with dirt and
Yeah.
make it a park.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Jackman Park. So it's, that's the future there.
Are there any other plans right now you guys are working on for Aldergrove or even Langley? Things on the horizon?
Well, I mean, at this point in time, we've got, this is the sort of the main, what I would call visible structural thing is the Aldergrove pool. The other thing that people don't realize in Aldergrove is really Aldergrove was really pinched, and I didn't realize this either. It was really pinched because of the lack of adequate sewer capacity
Right,
and water
right.
capacity. Now that we've got the sewer capacity up and we've got the water just around the corner here, it's in its final stages. It should be running pretty quick.
Is that the building at Parkside there behind the?
That's the sewage
The home
pump.
ground?
Yeah. And then the water is, the pipe's all in. It's just they're cleaning and disinfecting and getting the final certification and that sort of thing. And that'll give Metro Vancouver Water, GVRD Water, to Aldergrove, which is a consistent water source which does not rely on the aquifers for its purpose. So that'll be a big change in it, and the capacity then for Aldergrove to grow, both the industrial areas and
Yeah.
the residential areas, I think will be there. Infill, lots of opportunity for infill, and the industrial and commercial area west of 264th there at 28th up to Fraser Highway can expand.
We'll be able to handle
Yeah, be
that
some
kind
growth
of
there.
traffic.
As far as any sort of major projects, right now a lot of things in the planning stages. The twinning of the 208th overpass is something that's on the books, will be done probably in the next.
They're going to twin that already? They
Well,
realized it just wasn't.
It just got to go. It's a bottleneck at over in the number one.
Yeah. Oh, on that side, sorry.
Yeah, well, now with that Willoughby area so
Yeah.
huge, people are flying over.
That's the
it.
one thing I don't understand is
I get
all of these houses going in, and yet the road systems just cannot support it.
Well, and that's been a discussion that's been long, and it's been around the corner a lot of times. So the question is, do you put the road infrastructure in before the houses are built, or do you put it in afterwards?
Yeah.
And do you have the taxpayer pay, or do you have the developer pay?
Yeah.
And philosophically, a decision was made long before I was on council that we were in a developer pay mode.
Yeah.
In other words, as a property is developed, one of the costs that's given to the developer is the cost of putting all the infrastructure in, all of this, the road upgrades, sidewalks, walkways, greenways, if it's fronting a major arterial, greenways, and so on and so forth. So all of that is now in the hands of the developer. So one of the things we did, and you talk about 208, at the beginning of this past term, we costed out what it would cost for the township taxpayer to buy the land necessary to put 208 at 4 lanes from the freeway right down to Costco. And the cost was $40 million.
Jesus. That's incredible.
And that would be purchasing the land, because the land's all privately owned. You have to purchase a fair amount of land. That's putting all the infrastructure in, all the sewer, water, and all the piping for TELUS and hydro and everything else underground. Putting in the sidewalks and the greenways. You got to understand that on those streets there's a greenway, so it's an extended width there. Yeah, so that's a fairly healthy cost. Plus, and then not only buying it, but then doing all of that and paving and everything. And that would have to be a cost borne directly by the taxpayer.
When you guys owned the land in Aldergrove there where the school was, they did a lot of movie shooting there. Did that raise money for the township for projects
Yeah,
like this?
it just helped pay the bills.
Anything? Does you guys own the land where Bates Motel is?
No. Yes, we do.
And that
That's part of the old Jackman landfill, and that's ours.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's a rental fee that's paid to us, but I mean, the movie industry does pay a lot of money through licensing and so on and so forth. But it's a great economic driver right now in the township of Langley.
Do you guys try to push that anymore?
Well, what we push is historically, and people don't realize this, if you shoot a movie east of 200th, there's a huge tax incentive rather than shooting it west of 200th. And so if you shoot a movie east of 200, like Bates Motel,
right,
or there's lots of properties and areas, for example, even they do a lot of stuff up at County Line Elementary too. You get a tax break. And so, yeah.
It's encouraging.
It's encouraged.
Is there more incentive for a lot of companies to be shooting in Canada with the dollar down versus?
It's just gone. Yeah, it's just gone incrementally. And we saw Christy Clark make an announcement. Now they're trying to encourage the music industry to start looking and doing some developing some recording studios.
Why not? Right.
With the Canadian dollar, the way the Canadian dollar is now, coming up and doing music videos, music shoots, whatever the case may be, recording studios, that sort of thing. It could be a real advantage.
Do you guys ever have contact with like a Christy Clark kind of government, or what sort of connection do you guys have directly with?
We basically, and I think it's pretty much consistent through the whole province. We basically work through our 2 MLAs, Rich Coleman and Mary Polak.
Right.
If we've got an issue, we got a project, we got an idea, we need to ask questions, we pretty much directly go through our MLAs. We're lucky. Both our MLAs are cabinet ministers. Rich Coleman's deputy premier. So they sit in pretty good company there. And so they have, I think, a good opportunity for influence in a positive and constructive way. And so, yeah, using them and working with them, we've been very fortunate, I think, in terms of getting answers to questions and promoting our issues and so on and so forth with the provincial government. And, the provincial government has to treat everybody equally, whether you're in Fort St. John's, Fort St. James, East Kootenays, here, the island, wherever. So you got to be a little bit cognizant of that.
Allocating funds wherever.
Allocating
being
funds.
Fair.
Yeah.
They can't just drop in X amount of dollars in Aldergrove when
Yeah.
there are other small places that probably need or want the same things.
Exactly.
Just as bad, hey?
I think that recreation center is going to bring more people more private
Well,
money
a lot of people-
into the town, like we were kind of discussing.
A lot of people leave the town to use those sort of amenities, and if that's here, whether it's Blair, gyms in Langley, the gym in Mount Lehman, if you can pull those things in, and
Yeah, and make it good. And I'm hoping too that with the downtown core, we'll see some of the owners of the buildings and so on start to take some interest in, and maybe doing some facade upgrades.
Yeah.
well, they could potentially take some interest at their real estate property being worth more if that's they
Yeah.
wanted, or they've been waiting for something like that to potentially get out of there and let a new fresh business come in and assist to do a renovation.
And you're drawing people into that area, that immediate area. So and hopefully we did see a couple of things. On 271st Street north of Fraser Highway there, we've seen I think it's a naturopath come in and beautify a house, and it's a really neat little place.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw a development permit come in for the old liquor store church that's just across the street from the mall, right beside the Salvation Army thrift store there.
Oh, okay.
And they want to do a substantial facade upgrade. And that's awesome, I
Right
think.
across from 7-Eleven there? Is that...
Yeah, down a bit. Right next door to Home Hardware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there a medical clinic now?
I think it is.
I'm not
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
And so they want to do a facade upgrade
Yeah.
and make and beautify the building. Not that your generation would know, but those were standard old BCL liquor stores, built beside the Super Value store. They were all over the province.
Mm-hmm.
But now that the medical clinic has bought this, it seems they're wanting to put some money into it. So, if people start to see this sort of happening,
It's the right time to get in.
yeah, they might start to take an
That's
interest
what-
in,
that's what
you
we're
know,
Do you
hoping
think
for.
with like the development of the rec center, probably a bit of a higher population flow, there'll be like an expansion of community policing too as well?
well, that's
'Cause
always,
they're pretty short staffed around all the.
well, we just, our budget this year, which is, comes again for third reading on Monday, is asking for 2 more police officers for the force. So and the city's asked for 1. So that would be 3 in total, not that, the city has their needs as well. But we need to, as growth continues, we need to pay for protective services. That's policing, fire bylaws, et cetera. And
Do you
so,
get any correlation with Abbotsford for that, since that is Abbotsford property, a ton of people living there, even though the flow, I can see that being a bit of a problem too, right? I mean,
there's
we're-
tremendous coordination with the policing and
Abbotsford, Aldergrove.
cooperation between Abbotsford and Aldergrove. And they've done some very sophisticated sting jobs on specific properties or groups of people that seem to cross the border at will. And whether it be with their tools or with their goods or with whatever, they just, they seem to not realize that, the border's there, and they just work both sides. And we've had tremendous cooperation between the 2 police forces, and I think it speaks highly. And I mean, one's a public police force, the RCMP, the other's a municipal one. But you know what? They work together. They're policemen. They work together. They do the same thing: intel, surveillance, capture, whatever.
Yeah. They don't shut down parties together very well.
Oh, you know that, do you?
Well, he lived right over there, right on the other
house that
side of
me, Adam, and
276.
Joe owned, we had a huge party. This was 10 years ago almost now, but 7 years ago. And it got up. We had no idea,
feel like
but
there's
it
guns
got to
there.
the point where someone shot a gun off at our house, and then someone obviously, and the music was so loud. The cops came like 3 nights through the week, and each time they came, one was Abbotsford, then Langley would come, then Abbotsford would come. It was like they were on the phone, like, "No, it's your turn now. No, it's your turn now."
Wasn't that on Fraser Highway?
Yeah, right on Fraser Highway, across from the
Shell, yeah.
And then eventually they had to actually bring like they basically called us and said, if you don't shut this down, we're gonna have to bring the SWAT team, because we had like 400 people at our house. Unexpected. We did not expect to have that many people at all. But I mean, at that point, they are concerned of like riots. They're concerned that it can get completely out of control.
Well, yeah.
But it was like neither one of them wanted to deal with it, because they just kept sending the other one.
Well, and dealing with those situations isn't. Look at the party bus last night in Vancouver.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, well, there was a problem on a party bus, and
Oh.
on party bus only maybe 15, 16, 18.
Tops. Well, like 20,
Yeah.
you can get up to like
Up
25.
20, something like that. But
Still,
anyways,
not that many.
I don't know how many cop cars were there, and ended up fighting with the police, and it's just a mess. I mean, you know how quickly things can get out of control if you got liquor fueling it or whatever fueling it. It just goes, and who's going to bring it back in line?
Can spiral really fast,
Yeah,
right?
and the police don't want to deal with it because they're in a no-win situation. Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had any parties shut down in Aldergrove, but please.
That
No,
was-
you were a good kid, Matt. You were a much quieter, less party-hardy kid than the Roth family.
That's right. I was.
You know,
I still am.
are you?
I kept it classy
Yeah.
for the most part.
Well, I don't think it was Ryan. I think it was the people that were in the house with him.
Yes, exactly.
If you're watching out there, it was you.
Yeah.
Allocate the blame wherever you can.
I mean, I enjoyed the party, but I definitely raised my concerns of liability issues of having a party that size.
You have to, though, when
But,
there's that many people.
Well, when there's that many people, someone leaves a party.
One
Gets
guy did
into
a
an
backflip
accident?
off our balcony. Luckily, he didn't break anything. Like there's
Yeah. Scary.
very.
Don't say too much. Your mom probably doesn't know about it.
Oh, she knows. Mom, I mean, I don't have anything from my mom.
Oh, okay.
No, we're pretty.
No,
we're
I
pretty
don't.
good that
I don't
way.
think Matt does either. He's a pretty good kid.
Yeah, there's not much he would.
I noticed you had your moms in here today, so it was kind of truth or consequences with them here, eh?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I thought, oh, okay. If the boys are bringing their moms in here, and then they got to be on the up and up.
Yeah, we were doing our best to be on the up and up.
There
It
you
was
go.
good. It was a good talk. It's definitely interesting points of view on some things.
So
Yeah.
there was a pretty emotional ceremony recently with Harry Hunt,
Right.
and you guys were able to get the Kinsman Field, renamed, which is amazing.
Well, that was a
Quite
pretty
a
amazing
surprise.
feat. Yeah, and I'd seen Harry a number of times in the recent
Maybe
past.
give a little bit of background on Harry for anybody listening who might not know.
Well, Harry Hunt was a local gentleman family that lived here and bought way back in the early 70s some land. He was a pig farmer, a bricklayer, multifaceted fellow, but always walked around town with his camera and always was taking pictures and capturing moments with in real life for the newspaper. And so I don't think there's too many young athletes or dancers or people in Aldergrove that Harry probably hasn't had their picture in the paper at once in their lifetime. And he was a custodian. He after he finished his bricklaying, he went custodian at LSS, and then he was a custodian at Aldergrove Secondary, where his wife was custodian, and when I was principal. And his wife passed away about 16 months ago, and at the time, Harry was pretty sick. It wasn't expected that Betty would go before Harry, but Harry got pretty sick with cancer, and he beat it, and then it came back, and it slowly took his life. And at the time, he wasn't working for the paper. That job had kind of ended. The black press was downsizing, so he didn't do as many pictures. He did as many pictures. They just didn't show up in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so he passed away, but he had touched the lives of so many people, whether it be at school as a custodian or whether it be in the community taking pictures.
Yeah,
or
it
being
wasn't even.
involved
You
in-
never really even looked at him as a custodian. You
No.
know,
Yeah.
he was kind of just one of the guys around the school almost.
He's a friend to everyone, almost
and you know what?
everybody.
He befriended a lot of kids, and the kids appreciated it, and I think he loved the kids. He had the same sort of sentiment for Aldergrove that I do, and that is it's a great little town. And I hate it when people knock it, or I hate it when people run it down for not knowing what it really has in the way of its amenities or whatever. But having said all of that, Harry had a great affinity for the community, and so we, when he passed away, I made the motion in council to rename that field Harry Hunt Field. And it was fortunate that when he passed away, there was enough time for our crews to actually, before the ceremony, to get the sign in place, and then there's the memorial plaque. And it worked out really, really well. And actually, in fact, the only people that knew that it was there was his son, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
and Deb Jones, because I had to tell them. And sort of John Pusick. We had a meeting to discuss the order of service and speakers and so on and so forth. And so they knew, but Laura didn't know. And Carrie's sister didn't know, or nobody knew. And so it was, we through my efforts, tailored the celebration in such a way that was the last thing to be said and done. And it was just awesome to have that there and be able to walk out of the school and walk across the short parking lot, walk there and pull that, have them pull that cover off and see Harry Hunfield. So, and that's where it sits, and it's there forever.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really fine tribute.
Was it much of an issue getting that passed to change over? Or was it
No.
kind of put forth and let's do
Yeah,
this?
this is the way to do it. This is the right way. We need something that's visible in the community where Harry spent time, both in his working life and in his professional photography life, and that fit. And it could be done now.
Yeah.
Other people talked about the arena and this, that, and the next thing. Well, that would be 2-3 years down the road. So it didn't have the same effect.
Yeah.
I think the field, with the proximity to the high school,
Perfect.
It's right there.
was a real natural fit. We obviously couldn't do the high school field because that's a school district issue. But so
Awesome.
it worked well. And there was a lot of people there, as you said, guys. A lot of young people there to honor and recognize them and say their goodbye.
Yeah, no, for sure there was quite a bit of people there. I know there were still a lot of other people that would have liked to come out.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. There was a lot of people I thought would been there. I mean, everybody has their situation. Some people can't make it, right?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. But there was definitely, I felt like there was going to be more of a student base, but people have stuff going on. And
Well, yeah, there was probably 450 people there. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
it was
it wasn't a small turnout.
no, it was
and you're right. I
a
mean,
great ceremony.
people have commitments and work and other things. So even on a Sunday, I mean, now in today's world, I mean, people work 7 days a week, and so it's you can't get a time that's perfect for everybody. It was good time for the family, and that's really what drove it.
Do you have any aspirations to move up in as far as politically, or are you kind
None.
of content and happy with where you're at?
I'm
and
content
what you're
and
able to
happy.
do for the
Everybody says, what about mayor? The mayor's position is an interesting one. If you want to be in a position of influence, the mayor has no more influence really than a single council.
And you're a deputy mayor as well.
Well, we take turns. Right now, it's not me, but it's somebody else. But we take turns at that, and it's a shared position. But the mayor, for example, it's very difficult for the mayor. It's not impossible to make motions, notice of motions.
Yeah.
To bring. To get too involved in discussion from the mayor's chair. If he chooses to abdicate the mayor's chair and have the deputy cover, then of course that's fine. But so I feel that I'm in a position where I can make and have as much influence as I need to get my agenda through on the table and discussed. I think that, you win some and you lose some.
Yeah.
But certainly as a counselor, I think, you've got that every opportunity to do what the mayor does. Obviously more public things. He's got more openings, more functions and that sort of thing. And that's a big part of his job. And he does a much bigger job of selling the community and at the Metro Vancouver stage and those are TransLink and so on and so forth. So there's lots of facets to the job. But I think if you talk about feet in the ground in the township of Langley, I think as a councillor we've got as much influence as any mayor does.
Has there been any talk of SkyTrains coming out this way?
Well, it's an interesting discussion, and we're just going to have to wait to see what the federal government does with their money.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be SkyTrain; it would be likely light rail transfer.
Yeah.
So you do a transfer at at the SkyTrain station there, and Mayor Surrey, Linda Hepner, she certainly seems positive. She has she's got 3 lines that she's promoting, one to Guildford, one to down King George South, and then one to Fraser Highway to Willowbrook.
Yep.
So we'll just have to see.
Even out to Willowbrook would just make a massive difference.
Yeah.
For how many people.
Well, and what would happen then is there would be a bus exchange at Willowbrook too.
Okay.
So you get off LRT, and then you get onto a bus and start looking at how that would change routes. But I mean, those discussions have been had with TransLink. They're aware of that, and that they would be prepared. But again, it would take time. I mean, even if the decision about LRT
Still
and
take 5-6 years.
oh yeah, if the decision was made today, yeah, it would take 5-6 years to get.
That's the thing. By the time you make that decision to have it go to Willowbrook, there's probably more of a need for it to even come to Aldergrove as this develops further, and it's yeah. I mean, I guess the foresight in those decisions, it's too difficult to make with a financial purpose or. But.
You know what's working really, really well, and I think is very undersold, is the what we call the 555 bus, the Carvel bus exchange, which is up at the 200th interchange there. You can get on a bus, be at the Sapperton SkyTrain station, and on a SkyTrain, and into downtown Vancouver in an hour, which, you know, I think is an awesome. What I would love to see, and I've actually asked TransLink to look at, is a bus that came even farther east. If it came out of Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Abbotsford, Gloucester.
Isn't there some already that run from Abbotsford, Hot Shots, Chilliwack, downtown?
I don't know if is it functioning?
I believe the Chilliwack one is, because my niece that lives out there was talking about just hopping on a bus and coming out to visit. So
I don't know about that. I haven't heard much publicity. But if there was, and we could expand the
264.
To the 264th opportunity into that 555 bus, you know, there's HOV lanes now. If we can move some of those HOV lanes out farther, they'll come out to the 216th interchange when it's built in the next 3 years. But again, I think those kind of opportunities need to be looked at, because that 555 bus has been very, very successful.
Right on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up, and we got Vera coming in next. So
Vera's coming in.
She's here,
She should be here.
She should be here. Well, that's
So,
great.
Thank you very much.
Hey, boys. Good to see
Appreciate
you.
you coming.
Absolutely.
Thanks for answering questions about
Now, I
Aldergrove
just
for
want to
us.
make sure that, you know, you both passed English 12, eh?
I'm redoing English 12 right now.
Oh,
I did pass English 12, but I'm redoing
Vera
it.
will
I needed a
Vera
higher
will love it.
grade.
Vera passed me. I don't think I went much. But
She did pass
she
you.
gave me an A or something.
Oh, okay.
98 or
Okay,
maybe,
well, that's good. That's awesome, because I mean, you were an awesome student, Matt.
I was.
You know,
I was.
Yeah,
your attendance rate was pretty high
Not.
on a day-to-day basis.
I
But I didn't say the attendance at school.
I didn't have a lot of classes in grade 12
I
because I
know.
was already finished my.
But, you know, I didn't say your attendance at school. I said your attendance at Tim Hortons and other places of interest.
The fast food restaurants at lunch.
That's right.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
thanks,
And,
boys.
everyone listening, don't forget gatewayofhope.ca, and we will see you in about 5-10 minutes. We'll be back.
Just a small town girl living